Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We are riding the London wave a little bit further because in today's video we are talking about how my style has changed after living in London. And living is a bit rich. I mean, I did stay there for 9 weeks, but still it did have a semi-significant impact on my style. So what and how is what we're talking about today. My latest video was talking about a Zurich versus London style. So there I go a little bit more into depth about the differences in the styles. But in this video, I'm just talking specifically about the things that I adopted from London, took with me home and have incorporated into my style in Zurich thus far. So firstly, this is a small yet I think significant change that I took back with me from London, and that is how I get my nails done. Just in general, you see a lot more like done up nails in London that you do in Zurich, but still I have been getting my nails done for the past 2 years. I've always had extremely weak and brittle nails, and I think on this one you can skip on the advice in the comments. I have tried it all. At the end I just bit the bullet and started doing acrylic nails, and I haven't looked back. But here in Zurich, the fashion and style for nail art or nail shape is a lot different. So I would usually get the square nails. So when I was in London, long story short, I started getting the almond shape, slightly pointy instead. And I was a bit hesitant at first just because I'm used to getting the square nails, so to my eye that's what looks good. But after staying a bit in London, I picked up on the fact that I was the one who was hopelessly behind, so I changed up the shape. So I was expecting to go back to the square shape when I got back to Zurich, but actually I ended up keeping the almond shape. I recently had these done in Zurich for the first time since returning to London, and there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I think here it's less significant if you get the square or almond shape, where I really felt like in London, like the almond shape was the only one that was sort of like stylish or acceptable. But it's so much easier to use them. Like the square nails, when you're using your phone, when you're using your computer, you have less of like room around the nail to be comfortable like typing, for example, on your phone. So I found that to be significantly easier with the pointy shape. And on top of that, I think I've also just like grown to like it a little bit. So when I came back, I was like, you know what? What's that all in my head, the fact that everyone here has square nails? Because I had this like idea that I wasn't sure where it came from, that it would be sort of like borderline tacky to have more pointy nails here. But honestly, now that I'm back, I see that it may not be super like directly tacky to not have square nails, but now that I'm looking around, everyone does indeed have square nails. And when I went to my nail shop to get my nails done like less than a week ago, I was looking around and literally everyone else was getting their square nails done. I was the only one choosing the pointy shape. So it wasn't all in my head, but still I am way happier like this. The next thing that I took home with me from London was the hairstyles. So I also went into depth in my last video about this, but basically, there's a lot more sleek hairstyles in London. The same hairstyles they're not really used to the same extent in Zurich. And even when you wear like a semi-sleek hairstyle, it's not to the same extent at all. Where you can tell like in London, they're using like certain brushes and certain products as well to like keep it down like that. Where here in Zurich, I think like if you do a ponytail like that, you just use a bit of hairspray. But the type of like very sleek down hairstyles that they're wearing in London, they really are so practical, especially for like going to the gym, but also just in general. It's a great way to look extra polished, especially when you have like obviously an oily hair day and stuff like that. I mean, you can throw in some dry shampoo, but once your hair has gotten to that extent where it really should be washed, sometimes it just, you know, you don't want to do it, you're too busy, you have to go to the gym later that day anyway, and sleeking down your hair is just so much more practical. And again, it's one of those things that like cleans you up, that polishes your look, it makes you look more groomed, and by extension you just look better. So I'm adopting these hairstyles, and most recently I just ordered a brush, like one of those that will sleek down your hair. Like I didn't even know they existed before, so getting one of those. Now I'm also figuring out which products to buy and use to keep my hair looking sleek without looking, you know, too like too shiny or greasy. Then another thing I took back with me from London, I actually think this is less about London, and it just happened that I picked it up when I was there. And this is slightly embarrassing because I used to work in the beauty industry for quite a while, so I was already aware of this, but you know, sometimes we just do things in a certain way and we just don't change it just by virtue of habit. So I already knew this, but just never really changed up. But basically my blush placement has changed. When I started using blusher years ago, it was going on like on the apple of the cheek, then it slightly went up, and now I've been doing like this shape like this for quite some years now. But if you take the blusher even higher and place it where your highlighter also goes, so borderline, you will have to mix the two, it's gonna lift the face way more, and it's such a beautiful look. It's also quite youthful, you get me. So while my blush placement wasn't off before by any means, I've just lifted it into the same placement as my highlighter, and it just gives a whole different look. And not every day, but then I'll also wear some bronzer underneath it so that I have, you know, the blush and the highlighter mixed together almost, and then some bronzer underneath. And then another thing which really was more of like a reminder, like a gentle slap in the face to just, you know, remember to do these things, but it's to maintain the things that you are doing. I feel like a lot of London girlies are very high maintenance, like the way they do their hair, you know, the way their nails are done, and the way they wear their makeup. You know, a lot of them are wearing self-tanner all of the time. I also do that a lot of the year, but basically there's a lot to maintain, and if you don't maintain that, then you're just not gonna look like your effort is gonna fall short. Because if you're someone who wears self-tan but it's always patchy, or if you're someone who, you know, gets your, I mean, maybe that's not the best example. I was gonna say get your eyebrows done, but then not all the time. Maybe it's best to say like someone who doesn't like maintain the shape of their eyebrows. And also if you're someone who like gets highlights in your hair, or like do some other color changes to your hair, if you don't keep that up depending on like what style you're getting and like what's the difference between the colors, it's just not gonna look effortless. So it's just sort of like a reminder to me, like the way I was seeing girls maintain their high maintenance look, to only make the changes that you are able to maintain, and then prioritize those, because if you're not prioritizing those, it's gonna make you look significantly less groomed, and it might just be better not to do it to begin with. So find the things that are necessary or that you want to prioritize to make yourself look the best, and then make sure that as much as possible these are always taken care of. So for example, for me, that's my nails, and it's to make sure that I always have like the makeup products that I really like and need, even if they sometimes are the ones that cost a little bit more. And something else that I personally really need to get back on is like getting my eyebrows waxed. I dye them myself. It looks pretty good. I mean, as you can tell, like my eyebrows doesn't look off, but I really have a tendency to like go months in between getting them waxed, and it's a much more polished look when I keep the shape going. So just a little slap on the wrist and a little reminder to myself to maintain the things that you have decided to do about your appearance. Oh, now I'm saying you, but I mean me. Something else I'm taking with me just in general is these more like sleek vibes. I bought a couple of jackets when I was there. One is the cropped black one. I actually saw quite a lot of girlies around with it in London. I mean, it's just a black jacket, so it doesn't really matter, but it's such a sleek, cool girl look, where the cool girl look in Denmark is just so much more like vibrant and out there, where I feel like the cool girl look in London is much more like sleek and understated. And I haven't been cool girl-esque for quite a while here in Zurich, because, you know, I've sort of like tried to abandon the Danish cool girl aesthetic. It doesn't really fit in with like my Zurich style, to be honest, but the sleek vibes from London is much more of a fit. So I'm definitely keeping that in mind for like what I am buying when I am back home. So something like, yeah, the crop jacket I am still wearing now that I'm back home. I mean, I have also gone back to like wearing my less like cool things and like, you know, my more tailored blazers and and just, yeah, blazers and more polished, or not polished, but posh classic pieces, because that is just more the vibe here. But definitely if you keep these like sleek vibes but keep them rather neutral, there is definitely some room for them in here in Zurich, and I think it looks really cool. So I'm not gonna go like over the top with it, like things that are too boxy, for example, is still like too trendy for me. Maybe someday, you know, but yeah, the cut things that I bought, I am keeping around. And then just to throw an Easter egg in here, there are also a couple of things that I did when I was in London, but now I don't want to do it. I bought a pair of trainers for one, and I bought a pair of jeans. I mean, it's not like I'm never gonna wear jeans here, and now I have those jeans that I bought, but yeah, no, I'm back to wearing skirts and dress pants for the vast majority of the time. It just fits my style better here. And the trainers, yeah, haven't used them a single time. It's not my vibe at all. Maybe it would be if I was living in London, you know, I'd find a way to make it my own and incorporate it into my style, because it just is more appropriate there. I mean, I did do that to a certain extent when I was living in London, but now I'm back, like, I'm not adopting that, like, no, trainers out. So anyway, this video was rather short and sweet, just a little bit about how I have changed my style since coming back from London. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like so that I know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!